hit the button. Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and it is the post. Let's see. How do I say this and not screw this up? Bill has BillCon hangover, so this is going to be the slightly slap happy and perhaps sillier episode, or with any luck. But this is gonna be fun. Act casually, everybody. We have Levi Mote from Daily Magic Games here today. Hello, Levi. How are you?
Hey, good, Bill. How are you?
I am excited to be here tonight, even though I almost can't feel my feet because I'm exhausted. But this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really geeked for tonight because I think that this is going to be one of those sort of meta conversations that we need to have more often in this industry to keep people from just throwing words around wrongly. We'll come back to that in a little bit when we start talking about casual games. But first, as always, hello chat room. How's it going? Good to see everybody here. Hi, Ben. Life is good. Let's talk about games we have played recently. I have played a metric crap ton of games over the last 48 hours because I had what was called BillCon, which is where I allow people to infest my 2-bedroom apartment for 48 hours straight, and I just have tables everywhere, and all we do is play games and eat really unhealthy food. And I had 2 standout games that I played. The first one I've talked about on the show before, which was Anachrony, which I really like. And so I don't want to babble on more about that because, spoiler alert, I still really like it. So whatever. The one I do want to talk about that was a surprise hit for me was Cytosis. This is a game I wish that I had Patrick, the official mispronouncer of names, here with me tonight because I have a feeling I'm going to pooch this one pretty hard, but we're going to try it anyway. John Coveyou, or Coveyou, I don't know how you would say that. Coveyou designed it, and it's published by Edinarog and Genius Games. I'm going to go with Genius Games because I know how to spell that word. This is a game about cell biology. So this is a game about being in charge of a cell, generating mRNA, yes, haha, and turning it into proteins to meet certain biological needs that the body outside the cell has. Or in gamer terms, it's a worker placement game about fulfilling contracts with resources, getting cubes and turning them into victory points, which is how it's formatted. But the theme is one of the more unique themes I've ever seen. Like, who the hell has ever heard of a board game about cell biology? So we played it yesterday afternoon, and we played with five players. Okay, a biology college grad, a college grad with a biology degree, a registered nurse, a professional smart person, and me, and another buddy of mine, Jacob. And I have never felt so stupid during a game explanation in my life because the biology nerd was the one whose game it was and was teaching the game. And she was so excited to be able to talk about mRNA and ATP and enzymes and hormones and hormone receptors and all this stuff and explain why all these things were moving the way that they were. And I legitimately went Tharn. Like, my eyes glassed over during the explanation, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think it's a worker placement game. And she's like, yeah. Okay, sorry. It's a worker placement game. And then she started to explain it. And the game mechanically that it got compared to the most was Lords of Waterdeep. So think of this as a game where there are cards that are missions, and you are gathering resources and eventually going to turn those into something that you will turn them into victory points. But the neat thing about it is that, unlike most games of this nature, you have to put the cubes, the proteins and whatever it is that you're turning into, that you're meeting the cell needs with, you put those onto a vacuole. See, I learned words when I did this. And that vacuole has to carry the cubes downstream from the center of the cell outward to the body. So you can't just accrue them all and then spend them however you want. You have to put them on a token and then get that token down to where you can spend them, which means you have to commit early in order to on the card you want to do, because if you don't put enough resources on this vacuole, you won't ever be able to swim back upstream to put more on there, which I thought was fascinating. And my biology nerd friend, she backed up all the science. She's like, yes, this is how this works. This happens here and this happens here, and it all works out. And I was fascinated, and I actually feel like I learned something about cell biology playing a worker placement game, which I thought was fascinating. It's real good. Like, it's real, and it's a real good game too. That's the other thing. It's a solid worker placement game. 5 players, 4 of us learning, knocked it out in 90 minutes. Pretty good. It's on the lighter side. Like, it's not a heavy game, but it's also not mindless. It's real good. I think I like it a lot better than I like Lords of Waterdeep, and I'm a fantasy nerd, and I'm not a biology nerd. And I thought it was a better, tighter design than Lords of Waterdeep, with a more interesting theme, good visual presentation, not perfect. There were a couple graphic design choices I would have changed if I was the one publishing it. But good table presence, good variability of play. There was an expansion we didn't use because we were all learning the game. I think it's a solid buy it. I'm really impressed with it. Really impressed, especially from something that I had literally never heard of until this week. So have you heard of this or played this at all, Levi? Because now I've just been yapping for 5 minutes and I'm an idiot.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I've seen the game. I've seen it played. It has been played in my presence, but I was not one of the players. So I agree. I saw it and I thought, oh, worker placement, and was looking for the thing that was different about it. And from talking to the people who were playing and watching a few rounds, it definitely seemed like it was tight. It was intriguing. So I like that. I like really tight worker games, think about placement in a different way, and it seemed like it did that. Like I said, having not played it, I wouldn't be comfortable rating it, but I definitely it looked interesting.
I think the hook. So what you're talking about is the thing that makes it different, right? The hook here is the fact that you have to put the resources on this vacuole and then send it downstream. So you have to commit over the span of a few actions instead of just at once. Instead of just the gather action and then the spend action, which is how most of these cubes into points games go. This is gathering while you are spending. So the both are sort of happening simultaneously as the vacuole flows downstream. And it's rad. Like, it's real good. This is not only is this a buy it, but this is a Bill has been trolling around online trying to figure out if he needs to have this in his collection this week kind of buy it. So this is real
That's
good.
really cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
I definitely, we looked at a lot of worker placement games when we were testing Osiris and looking at those things. And I can tell you there's a lot of worker placement games out there that are very samey. So it's nice to hear that this has got that time element as part of it also. Yeah. That's something I really enjoy about like World's Fair is that timing element. And that about the game I'm going to talk about next too, the timing element. So it's good to hear that that works into that.
Agreed. Tom in the chat is saying is I think slightly tongue in cheek comparing it to learning High Frontier, which I taught him at BGG in November. So I will say that yes, if you have a nerd for the theme that all they want to do is tell you about the tech or the history or the lore of whatever the game is instead of explaining how the game will work, your eyes will glass over. And if I did that to you, Tom, when I taught you High Frontier, I sincerely apologize. Having said that, learning this, I was sleep deprived and didn't have enough caffeine in the world to make me not sleep deprived. And I was less dumb during this than I was when I first cracked a High Frontier book. So it's not that scary by half. But yeah, I gotcha. It definitely had that glassy moment. So that is Cytosis. Hang on, I just realized I didn't read the full title. Cytosis, a cell biology board game from Genius Games. Bill gives it a buy. There you go. All right, Levi. Finger guns, because I'm in a weird mood. What do you got for me?
Okay, we've been playing a lot of Charterstone. recently. That's been the big play around here. We finished a series of Risk Legacy, and so we said, well, we want to start another legacy type game. We were on the fence between Pandemic and Charterstone, and Tiffany Ralph had actually recommended Charterstone to us so highly that we went ahead and started Charterstone. And it's one of those games that I like the way they've used the legacy. Excuse me. I like the way they've used the legacy to teach you to play the game as you go. It starts very simply, and as you unlock things, it makes the game more complex. It was kind of funny because we were probably 4 or 5 games in, and a friend came over and was looking at the board and was like, oh, what's going on here? And I was like, man, it's funny that if I was to explain to you the game right now, it'd be far different than if I explained to you the game in the middle of the first session. And it really struck me as how much we had learned and how much the game had changed. We played 4 games the first night. We were playing them back to back. We played 4 games back to back the first night because the game is not, I would say the 4 of us, played our first game in less than an hour.
Yeah.
And even though it adds complexity as it goes, it never really overstays its welcome. And it's because of this timing mechanism that you reminded me of when you were talking about the vacuoles in cytosis. You have a certain amount of influence that you can spend, and when you take certain big type actions, like kind of your premier actions, like building new buildings or opening up new crates to unlock more things, when you do those things, it moves this time tracker along. You put your influence on that time tracker, and so you've only got so many kind of big actions you can take before the game's going to end. And sometimes it is in your best interest to push those along. My wife, Sarah, was playing, is one of the 4 players, and she is excellent at worker placement and combo type games. Mm-hmm. Like, she kills. We were playing Power Grid the other night, and she won by a single dollar in a 5-player game. Like, she's just great at understanding how her combos are going to play out long term. And so she had developed this combo with one of her buildings, and I realized the only way I was going to beat it was to end that game as fast as possible, because I could get out ahead early, but if she was allowed to just
you have a sprint strategy.
In this combo, you just
sorry, I lagged out. I said you had a sprinter strategy, and she had a long strategy. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and I didn't start the game thinking that's what I was going to do, but I realized after 2 rounds of watching her mill this thing for several points, I was like, yeah, I got to end this fast. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to change gears in mid game and make that work. So I like that. I like that flexibility in the game. I like that it teaches you how to play as you play more games. I love the uncovering the story. I'm an RPG guy, so I love uncovering the story as you go. All of that really appeals to me. And like I said, we talking about the scale, it's definitely a buy it. And I would even say I would buy it twice, because we have played about 6 games so far, and we're ready to buy the recharge pack to play it with a different group of friends now. So it's almost a double buy it for that reason. So I know, worker placement. There are a couple things that bothered me early on, like the way the game plays. You're placing 2 workers, a little and a large and a small one, and you're placing those 2 workers. And unless somebody bumps you out of a space, it's an action to clear your workers off the board, and that's all you get to do on that turn. That really bothered me the first game. I was like, "That would be more fun than this? Anything, literally anything would be more fun than." Taking my action to just clear these guys off the board. But I understand now, 6 games in, why that needed to be there. We also, on the second game, I realized that we could get an infinite amount of glory in the second game. We had all unlocked our first personas, and I was like, just agree right now to just score victory points, because we can control when the timer runs. Right. Okay. Yeah. So in the second game, I posited to the other 3 players, I was like, let's say we just get 100,000 points right now and fill up all the glory. And they were like, "You're crazy. What is wrong with you? Why did you want to break this game that way?" And I'm like, I didn't design it that way.
Yeah.
I just saw the exploit that
Yep.
they left in the game.
Sure.
And I it's definitely one of those things that I'm sure a lot of people, I don't think I'm the only one who would see that, but of the four of us, I was the only one who was like, yeah, let's just run the score up and get all the glory we can,
There are three things that I want to unpack from your review of this.
Yeah.
The third one I'm going to come back to when we get into our main topic of the show. But the other two, thing number one is you finished a Risk Legacy campaign. You are exactly the second person I have ever met that's actually gotten through the entire box. I have tried 3 times. I have bought that game 3 times and had 3 groups ditch me. I have had Gloomhaven not get finished 3 times, Risk Legacy not get finished 3 times, and Charterstone that I'm currently stalled in. So my hat's off to you, sir, for completing legacy things and having the stick-to-itiveness. I do have a friend that got through Seafall, so that's exciting.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
And I got through Pandemic Legacy Season 1. As a matter of fact, my ex-girlfriend and I mainlined the entire campaign in 2 sessions. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was 2 marathon days, but we were that hooked. But first off, so good for you, because that's amazing. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. The second thing that I wanted to unpack, though, is your talking about the exploit that you found and still loving the game. Oh, hang on. The chat room is saying, or Ben is saying, that he's having trouble with keeping it live. The laptop's not. I wonder if YouTube is being laggy again. And I swear it's got to be YouTube, guys, because Levi and I can see each other just fine, and we're in real time at this point. We had lag issues before, but this has got to be YouTube. So, and this is the same issue as last week, and I restarted all of my nonsense right before we started the show. So it's not me this time. I don't want to hear it. But the exploit and still loving the game. There is this mentality, it seems to me, that a game that is not perfectly designed and has 0 flaws must be garbage. Like, not, and I don't agree, for the record, but the internet is so insistent on losing their damn minds every time something is not the perfect thing that they insist must be possible. Like, and we're going to come to my rant here in a hot second, but I remember, like, when Caverna first came out, somebody discovered a highly unlikely exploit. If you built 3 specific rooms in your cave, you could have infinite ore. And then they decided, well, clearly Uwe Rosenberg doesn't playtest his games. And I wanted to say, what? Like, maybe people make mistakes. That doesn't make the game garbage, right? Like, it still can be a perfectly enjoyable, wonderful game with an occasional rules hiccup. And I think that that's interesting. And I think that's a difference in mentality. What do you attribute that to, Levi? Because you are a game designer and a publisher. How do you?
Yeah. Let me say, well, first of all, as far as the chat, I was running 2 windows, watching YouTube and this, so I could keep up with the chat. I have since closed.
Pop out the chat.
Yeah, I just closed it.
Okay, there you go. So I will talk. I will speak for the chat room for you, sir.
Cool, I appreciate that.
No problem. I got you.
So the first point about finishing Risk, we actually have 1 final game to play to completely finish Risk Legacy, and it's because we have all decided now that we finished the game, we're going to pop open the do not open envelope.
Oh,
and then whatever that says, we're going to play one more game.
The terrible,
whatever that. So that's that first caveat there. Then, secondly, as far as I think there's a thing where a lot of people like to armchair quarterback. A lot of people like to say, well, I would have done this or I would have done that, and it's easy to do. I think it's easy to fall into that trap when you love something. I grew up, my mom and my sister are huge sports fans, which I know seems maybe, I don't know, But yeah, they are huge sports fans, and so I grew up around really like, I mean, I'm talking like they would get into serious knockdown arguments about one player over another, 1 year of team versus another, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And so I think it's in our nature to take the thing that we love and dissect it, right? And really kind of, digest it in all these parts. And I think some people get so invested in that it's hard for them to accept that these are fallible human beings who can make mistakes. Also, I would say something like, and I know exactly the exploit you're talking about in Caverna as well. As far as the way that goes, it won't win you the game necessarily, right? So even though it's a possible thing to do, there are always going to be things you can do in games that will create some crazy pattern or loop, but they won't necessarily win you the game. So why bother spending design time stopping that edge case? If that's the thing you want to spend your time on, being the coal master, go for it. Go do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Have a good time.
Yeah. And if that's going to make you enjoy the game, fantastic.
Sure.
Enjoy the game the way you want to play it.
And here's the deal.
I don't know why people get so vehemently angry about it. I understand passion. I don't understand the vitriol. That I don't understand.
I agree. And that, sir, is the best segue that I have ever experienced for what I want to talk about. Because I feel like, and we're going to go long on games we've been playing recently, because I'm going to take a few minutes on this, y'all. So just cope. Sorry, chat room. This is how it is today.
Somebody asked real quick about this. I just want to cover this.
Yeah,
the banner
please.
Behind me. That's a banner for Horizons.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to talk about that. That's why I didn't send
somebody on chat asked about it. So
no, I was going to come back to that. That was going to be my segue into your fourth game. So I want to talk about the Kickstarter for Eclipse: Second Dawn of the Galaxy. Speaking of vitriol and why passionate people freak out about stupid crap, I want to talk about this right now. This Kickstarter's been going for a week, and hang on. You know what? I'm going to actually take a moment, and I'm going to pull up the actual Kickstarter page. I just had the BGG page up because that's where my issue generally lies, but I want to look at the Kickstarter for Eclipse: Second Dawn, so that way I can give you guys real numbers, because I want to be able to point out what it is that I'm talking about. Are losing their damn minds about this Kickstarter, about how they hate this and they hate that and everything is terrible, and nobody is like, this is the worst run Kickstarter they've ever seen in their lives, and it's a money grab, and everything is wretched, and it is currently sitting at $486,000. I'm going to tell y'all that the worst Kickstarter game in the history of the world doesn't make $500,000. We are not stupid, okay? Like, maybe we're fanboys. I am the self-proclaimed biggest fanboy for Eclipse. It is my #1 game in the world, and I am all in on this Kickstarter myself. But if you love this game so much, have a little bit of faith in the people that are publishing the game. Just the tiniest damn bit. Stop zooming in on screen grabs and nitpicking every damn thing to try and declare at the top of your lungs that the thing you have judged from upon high based on your professional gamer opinion, that this is a pile of dog poo. Knock it off. Not you, Levi. You're okay.
Yeah.
And not the chat room either. I got good people. The Cubist community is solid folk. This is to the internet at large. Slow your roll, kids. It's fine. It'll be okay. If you don't like something, all you have to do is not buy it, and you'll be all right. Everybody needs a nap and a cookie, and just to slow their roll and calm down. And I will tell you right now, if you enjoy Eclipse, do not go into the forums on BGG for Eclipse: Second Dawn. Just don't. You're not going to learn anything you absolutely need to know that you can't get up the Kickstarter page there. I wanted to get that out. So I'm reviewing the people that are kickstarting the campaign for a game. And the review of the people is not good. I'm not going to use the word that I wanted to use there. So there we go.
Well,
so let's talk about something you should spend money on.
Yeah. Since we're talking about 4X, I happen to have this is a production. It's going to be backward, but I have this is a production proof copy for
Levi,
Horizons.
Levi,
Yeah.
it's only backward on your screen, so you can tell left from left and right from right.
Okay,
They all see it normally. You're good.
Awesome. I actually moved the banner forward a little so you wouldn't see the name because I saw it backward on my screen.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
so so this is a production proof copy. So this is the one that the manufacturer sends to us to see if we are happy with all of their choices. There's actually a unboxing video that Daily Magic put out. David, my partners David and Isaiah, they put up a video. So you can look at that if you want to see it in more all of its grandeur. But I can show you a few pieces like the rule book and the quick play guide on the back.
So real quick, while you're pulling out stuff and showing it to the camera, I'm gonna put the focus on your face so everybody's seeing you, even though I'm talking, Levi, so you can show them stuff. All right, Horizons is a new game coming out that they are going to be releasing. You have a few dozen copies for sale at Gen Con, if I recall correctly, and then lots of them afterwards. It is a 4X game that plays in an hour. Space 4X in an hour, y'all. That's a good thing. It's a pretty game, 2 to 5 people, and about an hour. Euro friendly. So this is going to be a low luck, high decision style game, I'm guessing. I haven't played it yet.
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'm just kind of showing off this stuff. The insert is going to be fixed right now. It's a little soft in the middle bit, just like me. But it's it's pretty good for what it is.
That's badass.
These are all the world tiles in the game, all the different planets.
Ooh, nice.
You can colonize and adapt to. These are the resource wells, and they are actually shaped. The wells are the same shape as the pieces.
Oh, that's smart.
So that it's easy to know what goes where. So you've got
I like that a lot.
Square, the circle, and this odd kind of triangle piece.
Sure.
They go in these different things. And then there's also, these are the wells for your player pieces.
Okay.
And all this has round bottoms and things, so it's easy to scoop out.
So you can play out of this insert.
Yeah, you could pretty much play out of the insert if you needed to, yeah.
That's cool. Okay. I'm a big fan of that in general. And now I will stop making the world only look at you. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
And then,
go.
No, you're fine. So these are some of the alien cards in the game. So you can see like kind of some of the artwork and things.
I'm going to dial up the quality of the video a little bit. I dialed it down so that way we would have...
You have less lag. Sure.
Yeah, less lag. But for a few minutes, let's go all high def here so that way we can...
And then these are mission cards. And one of the things that's added since we play tested the game originally is down here in this corner where it shows the player count. So now the missions are all balanced for certain player counts. That was one of the things that came up during playtesting and during the campaign of the game, was that some at certain player counts people were having issues with balance, and so that was how we addressed that, was by rebalancing the mission cards. There's also, this was not in the Kickstarter. These little tokens. You can see these.
Nice.
So these are used at the end of the game. So one of the things that you do, one of the ways you score victory points is by having area majority in a star system.
Okay.
So the game has a number of star systems equal to the player count. So there's these little these like go out on the table to start the game. You put these out, and then you build worlds adjacent to those. So you can have up to 6 worlds around each star. So so one of the things that we would do when you finish the game, you're scoring each system, and a lot of the times, I would see playtesters pulling out their phones or things to keep score. So we added those little triangular tokens So you can just hand those out at the end of the game instead
Nice.
instead of having to have some third party thing.
Instead of everybody defaulting to flipping open the calculator on their phone and then not talking to each other for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, having just taught Anachrony 3 times this weekend, I'm down. I understand exactly what you're talking about, because that's how the game ends every time.
And if you backed it on Kickstarter, which I'm sorry to say to the audience watching now or hearing about this for the first time, it's too late to get in on this. But if you backed it on Kickstarter, you also get a copy. You got the expansion for free.
Oh, nice.
So this is the retail expansion, the way it'll be packaged in a little box like that, $15, and then this is the way it'll come in your Kickstarter already. It's all the same stuff. It's just laid out a little differently, so it fits in the box.
Why pay? I was just gonna say, why pay extra for a retail box when people are just gonna put it in their main box anyway? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly. So we when we were developing the game, we talked about your love of 4X, and I have a huge love of 4X. TI4 now is still my favorite 4X type strategy game. and so like we were talking about this before the show, it's like no matter how much we love these games, they're hard to get to the table because they eat up a lot of time. So my intention was to the original design conceit was, could I make a 4X game, or a game that feels 4X that would run in a reasonable amount of time, an amount of time I could actually get to the table. So my initial goal was 2 hours. I was like, if I can get it under 2 hours, I think I could get more people to play it. So I started there, and I realized after about a year of design and playtesting that the only way to really shorten the time was to take out the extermination.
Okay.
And this actually created 2 things. One was it shortened the game because you didn't have people's turns were far longer when they had to worry about reciprocity. When they stopped worrying about that, their turns got shorter.
Yep.
The other thing was there was a whole subset of gamers who were turned away by the direct conflict of a 4X game. They and I've played Civ online with these people. Where it's like, I just want to build my civilization over here. You leave me the heck alone, and I'll do this, and eventually I'll try and win some way other than war. And so there's definitely a group of people who like the idea and the strategy behind a 4X game, but did not like the extermination axis.
They want a 3X game, sir.
Right, and a triple X game is a whole different thing, Bill.
Yes.
It's a family show. We're not talking about triple X games.
Yeah, we would have to use both of the words we're not allowed to say on this show.
So the idea was, we'll make it. We'll cover 3 of the 4Xs in the main game, and then we'll put the expansion in. So it's actually the extermination expansion. Yeah.
Here's the X you were missing.
There you go.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So this adds in one of the races that was in the original first draft of the game was the Viliox, these red squid-like guys.
Sure.
They were in the original, and we kind of scaled them back and then put them back in. So they come in as the super aggressive species that wants to cause havoc, and if you ally with them, then the things that you are able to do are much more aggressive. So
Kimberly's pointing out that it's not an After Dark episode, Levi.
Right? So. She is correct. It's one of those things that and then once we did that, we got the times down to like an hour and a half, and then after refinement and playtesting, we playtested the game. I had over 300 playtests over 3 years, and I had more than a dozen blind playtests that we ran, and we got it. We feel comfortable. Like I said, you have a group who knows how to play. I can routinely run a 4-player game in 45 minutes.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so it'll run even with 4 new players and somebody teaching in an hour and a half.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's pretty. Hey, what's up, Eric?
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean it's really, I'm very proud of it. I don't know if you can tell from my glowing.
Yeah, you should be. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean I'm pretty proud of it, and we got really lucky. I mean we teamed up with the Miko again, who did all the art for Valeria and the Vikings of the North Sea games and things, And we were, the conversation was like, we know you can do fantasy, but can you do sci-fi aliens?
Mm-hmm.
And
the answer
it was
is
really
yes.
Cool.
Because that art's really nice. Like, that's really good stuff. And I would argue that one of the calling cards of Daily Magic is that you guys focus on really good evocative art. I think. I mean, personally, and I'm not just blowing smoke at you because you're sitting right there. I think that that's one of the things that you guys do is you throw a lot of effort and time into making sure that the art does what the game is supposed to do, which I think is
one of my partners, Isaiah, he comes from that background. He was an art director and a producer at Big Fish, and so when he wanted to start this, his first game, Sunrise City, was very stylistic. That's
a gorgeous game. Yeah. I played that when that first fulfilled on Kickstarter. I remember vividly people bringing their Kickstarter copies to conventions and going, "Hey, this is the thing we're playing."
Yeah, it's a pretty game, and I think that's been we definitely want, because you could take a Euro. I mean, it's at its heart, it's a Euro game, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it has to be boring or unappealing on the table.
That's correct. Thank you. From your lips to God's ears, all you El Grande fanboys, pay attention. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Don't get me wrong. I love El Grande. It's a great game. But I mean, if we could take a game like El Grande and update it and, make it prettier, we would do that.
All you need to do is reskin it and call it 50 Shades of Poop, and you will be able to sell it to a whole other group. Sorry. I'm sorry. I have to get an El Grande joke in at least once a show. It's in my contract. So, all right. So let's use this to segue into the main topic, which is casual gaming. And Kimberly's here, so I'm going to channel her desire to keep the game moving a little bit and try to keep things rolling here. Eric, for a hot second, was impersonating me in the chat room, but now he's himself, and that's exciting. Thank you. Hello, Eric.
Well, that's because last time your internet went out and I had to log in as the Cubist, and I didn't realize I hadn't switched back yet.
Then my internet went to hell in a handbasket last week, and the whole stream broke halfway through. So, all right, so let's talk about casual gaming. Your mission statement for Daily Magic Games is, and I'm just going to read it straight off of dailymagicgames.com. Daily Magic Games is a designer-friendly and customer-focused publisher specializing in casual tabletop games that are easy to learn and play, yet layered with strategy and depth. Now, I want to give the chat room a little peek behind the curtain here, okay? We set up guests first on this show, and then we figure out what we want to talk to that guest about. So most of the time, every once in a while, we'll have a topic and then we'll go find guests that fit the topic. But in general, we find cool people we want to talk to first, and then we figure out a good way to talk to that person. Okay. And so today, and it was today because BillCon was this weekend and my brain is pudding at the moment. Today, I sat down at my computer and I opened up Daily Magic Games and I said, okay, let's start thinking about what I want to talk to Levi about tonight. And it took me 9 seconds because I read the website and I said, casual tabletop games, huh? Okay. Now, right after that, it says that are easy to learn and play, yet layered with strategy and depth. So my thought is that this is Daily Magic telling me what they mean by casual tabletop games. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The philosophy that we have about what is casual, some people might call entry level. Our philosophy is that we want a game to be evocative to any level of player. Okay. So if you sit down for the first time and somebody goes, hey, you want to play this board game? And you're like, oh, I've only ever played Chutes and Ladders and Sorry and things like that. You go, okay, well, with a very little amount of effort, we can get you playing. And part of that is what we just talked about. Part of that is making them physically attractive, right? Visually attractive.
So that way people want to sit down.
Yeah, you want to sit down. You like the feel of the cards and the pieces in your hand. You like what you see going on the board. That's a big part of it. And then the other part is giving people a way to get involved in the game. So one of the things, like from Horizons, when you first sit down to play the game, you get an ally. One of the first things you start with an ally.
Okay.
Now, in this case, the starting ally for the base game is an exploration league. So this is a Terran. This is a human, group, a faction that's helping you explore. And you're going to choose a planet type and you gain some resources for every one of that planet type that's in play when you activate this ally. So for literally doing nothing but starting the game, putting some planets out there and revealing this card, now you're getting some resources which help you get things going.
Okay.
Right?
So we want to start a positive feedback loop?
Yes, exactly. Like I want to create a situation where a player can't back themselves into a corner, where a player can't put themselves in a position where they hate the game the first time they play it because they made one mistake.
Okay.
So it's the exact opposite of splatter spelling.
It's the exact opposite of a lot of game design theory. And I think that this might just be a straight up, there are multiple paradigms in how to design games here. And
but I think it also plays back to what you were talking about it being casual. And our philosophy on being casual is being inclusive and being approachable.
Okay. Now I'm just going to say that I agree with that, and I think that that's wonderful. However, I also want to say that I don't want to give the impression that games that are not casual games are not inclusive and are not inclusive. That word worries me a little bit because I don't want to be super semantic and pedantic on you here for a second.
No.
But it feels like that's a line that I'm a little worried to
maybe
draw.
Welcoming is a better word.
There you go. That's probably a better one.
Right. I don't want there to be a barrier of entry to play our games.
Sure.
Like that's like, I don't want it to be, I know the first time I walked into a store when I used to play 40K, I was a big 40K player for a while. Mm-hmm. The first time I walked into one of those stores to play 40K, I had read the rules, I'd painted my army, I was ready to go. Mm-hmm. But the first time I walked in, I was very intimidated walking into that store.
Sure.
It was clearly a group of people, all mostly guys, with a group of people who knew each other very well. They all knew the armies everybody else was running, and they knew everybody else played, and they were like kind of in with the in crowd. I never want someone to feel like they need to be in with the in crowd to play a daily Magic game.
That's a really cool way of looking at it from a publishing from a publisher's mission statement side point or viewpoint.
And that bleeds into our design philosophy,
yep.
our marketing philosophy, the development process that we use. I mean, it bleeds into every aspect. Is that we want, Sarah and I early on when we decided we wanted to publish games or design games, was like, we want to be innovative, we want to be immersive, and we want to be intuitive. We want you to be able to sit down and play the game the first time,
And I want to go ahead. Sorry, Eric.
I was just you had mentioned your marketing philosophy being a part of this casual thing that all ties together. How do you market that? What's your pitch to?
So the big push for us, and honestly, we've not done as much marketing as we could have. But I mean, the big thing for us is what you can see over my shoulder is that we want art that grabs your attention. We want a presence that is friendly and welcoming. We want people to, be able to approach the game itself as well as the people involved in that game. That's all part of the marketing strategy.
And I want to walk back something I said a couple minutes ago and apologize, because your example about 40K reminds me of an example that was said earlier in the night about High Frontier. Okay. There are games and game design philosophies that seemingly intentionally build walls to make it hard to play their games. And the defense, and I'm not trying to be any sort of attacking or aggressive when I say this, okay? But the defense of these games from their fans is always, well, the game is just it's built this way on purpose, and only truly passionate people are really going to get into it, and yada yada yada. And it's this sort of weird self-congratulatory, like you got to be in order to play the game. And while I don't think there's anything wrong with the existence of those games, it worries me when people are okay with that way of that design philosophy sometimes, I think. Or maybe it just, maybe not worries me, bothers me. That's a better way to say it.
belief, and I can be wrong, but my belief is that the market will bear that out.
Well, that's true. Phil Eklund, as a great example, is not living sitting on a pile of money. You know, people are not.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think we like to. Isaiah just likes to describe it like this. He'll say, imagine a funnel, and at every level in that funnel is your available customer base,
Mm-hmm.
right? The more approachable we can be, the higher up in that funnel.
Sure.
We're gonna catch, right?
Yep.
If you're talking about a game like the 18xx games, right? That's a much steeper barrier of entry. They're going to be further down, comfortable buying and playing that game. Now, I enjoy those games,
Sure.
but I'm saying I can tell you that there are a lot of people who are very intimidated by that.
Oh yeah.
I've been intimidated by. The first time I sat down to play Castles of Burgundy, I was intimidated, right? The first time I watched somebody play Twilight Imperium, I was, intimidated. But I think and if you look at that, I mean, you can see that the number of copies of these games that are sold varies greatly. And I think that there is some direct proportionality to how approachable they are. Now, obviously, we can't market the way that a company like even Cryptozoic, not to go into a really big company, but I mean, even like a next tier size company like Cryptozoic, we can't spend as much on marketing as those guys can. We're never going to capture as much market share as they are. But, today, we can take what we have and make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. And not to be super self-congratulatory, but one of the things that is satisfying about doing board game media at all is trying to talk to people and be like, look, let's just have fun for an hour talking about cool games that you make, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole point of this hobby entirely in toto, the point of board gaming is to have fun with other human beings. And there is a subset of that is have fun by yourself, but that goes back to the After Dark episode, and we don't want to push that button quite yet. But like the whole point of this is to bring joy to ourselves and people around us, right? So like the more people you can get around you, the better maybe that this is going. I don't know. I'm super hippy dippy. Can you tell? This is what sleep deprivation and mainlining cold brew coffee does to Bill. Is he gets really emotional. It's like, let's just all be friends. Eric, you missed my Eclipse rant.
All I heard was cold brew coffee. I would stab someone for a cold brew coffee right now.
How about one this big?
Oh. I am jealous. I have a glass of water.
Well,
but I had coffee earlier, so
I guess what I'm saying is that I think that there's nothing wrong with being on the narrow end of that funnel. But I think that from a business standpoint, it makes a lot more sense to be on the wide end.
I mean, regardless of, and I agree with you. I mean, it's about having fun. There are people that I know who would not have any fun playing a super casual game.
Sure,
they are having the most fun ever when they are brain burning that puzzle down to the nth degree, and that's fantastic. Like I want all of that to exist.
We talked in the pre-show. Levi and I were chatting a little bit, and we talked about the three sides of Bill's brain, right? When it comes to playing games, right? Okay, so Bill has three major types of games that he really digs. 4X games where I get to build my little kingdom and either kick ass or build a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. Heavy, crazy economic games like 18xx and Wealth of Nations and stuff like that, where I can be like, look, I'm rich now, finally, and I have never been rich in my life, And then the third one are games where I can laugh at failure. So Space Alert, Galaxy Trucker, Dungeon Lords, things where stuff's going to go wrong and you have to just be able to sit and chuckle. Magic Maze is one of those, yada, 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 okay? And now, Eric, I can see the anger neurons firing in Eric's brain about all the co-ops and stuff that I just mentioned. So, sorry, I'm putting words in your mouth. But my point is, like, of those three, I would never call the heavy economic games and I would never. There are certain people that I will never try to teach Wealth of Nations to. There are certain people that I'm never going to try and teach Eclipse to, believe it or not. But those fear or failure games, I'll sit anybody down and be like, look, let's try Space Alert. This is going to be stupid. You're going to end up running into a wall over and over again for 15 minutes at some point over the span of this game. And if you can laugh at that, you're of my tribe, right? And I think that casual games are part of that too, right? Is, to me, is there's that moment where you feel like it's a game that you could introduce to anybody. And I'm not going to say the cliche, your wife, your mom, that kind of stuff, right? But like anybody.
Well,
like,
I'll jump in here, and this
please.
is a part of the reason that I wanted to make sure I popped on is I am a very big fan of daily Magic games, and that is because I have 2 young children, and they're gamer children, but they're still I have a whole stack of games like Bill was mentioning on the heavier Euro end and stuff like that. I can't play with my kids, even though they're sharp kids, but I can put a 10-minute heist in front of them, or I can they love Go Nuts for Donuts to the point where I had to sleeve it. And if you know me, you know I hate sleeving cards.
Oh, I'm so glad you're on the same team as No Sleeve.
But it was either sleeve it or it was getting destroyed. So and then I feel like I'll be able to introduce them to Food Truck Champions, and which is really just like I just tricked you into playing Glory to Rome type game.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Right.
And I would argue that Villages of Valeria is another game that is going to be right up on that track for you very soon.
I think, ironically, the Valeria games are your most popular games, right, Levi?
Yeah, they're definitely the largest line.
And of all the daily Magic games I've played, and there's been a bunch, I haven't played a single Valeria game. How about that?
Oh wow, okay,
that's okay. That's fine. The thing that people misunderstand about the Valeria games most often is that they're sequels of each other.
Yeah.
Where the thing to remember is they're all set in the same world, but villages, quests, and VCK, Valeria Card Kingdoms, play very, very differently.
Yeah. I did not know that, so I'm glad you clarified that. And that happens whenever you use the same. I know the Fleet guys were saying when they introduced the second Fleet game, everyone thought it was an expansion, and it totally bombed, and they think it was because of that.
The of the North Sea games leap to mind here.
Yeah.
What the hell was the name of the AEG series? They had like 7 games in this world.
Oh, the Tempest?
Was it the Tempest? Yeah, that series is another one where people are going for world building, right? Like they're trying to create a world. And this is actually a really good point. Have you noticed an issue with that where people like your first game is awesome and then game 2 is like, well, crap. Now, you know what I mean?
I mean, well,
just because we're curious.
The problem we've noticed is what just happened with Eric and I was that, we have to tell people these are different games. They're not sequels. They're not, they're not part of each other. That's the problem, I guess, if I had to use the word problem. The thing about the games, what's good about it is if you play VCK, if you play Valeria Card Kingdoms and say, yeah, I don't know, it's not really my speed, but I like the art and I like the world, but I wish it was more about, me building a group of adventurers to go out and solve quests. Like, okay, well, here's Quests of Valeria, play that. And that's exactly what that game is. Or if you said, I really like a game that's more about multi-use cards and it was more Euro-y than Valeria Card Kingdoms, because Valeria Card Kingdoms is very dice chucky, right? You're engine building, but you're rolling dice to activate things, and things can go completely sideways. Bell curve be damned. It doesn't matter how often 7's supposed to come up. You could go a whole game with no 7s, right? Sure. So because of that, you could say, well, all right, well, here's Villages of Valeria, which is much more of a Euro. It's much more like San Juan, right? Where it's a multi-use cards and very specific combinations. And it's kind of a race to who can build their village fastest. And so that's the good part about it, is that somebody goes, I don't really like this flavor of Valeria. There's other flavors of Valeria that they might like. Sure. The bad part is when there's the misperception that they're all one game. Right. And it's really what's kind of funny. You talk about world building, the kind of, inside baseball thing is that Horizons is kind of is set in that same world. of Valeria. Like
it's your 40K.
Yeah, right. It's like the 40K.
It's the 40K to your Valeria Warhammer. There you go.
Yeah, so you
blown.
I love it.
So I mean, you know, and that's all. We don't ever say that out loud in any of the materials, but it's definitely a conversation we had amongst the four of us. You know, it's like we don't want to just do Valeria in space, right? But we want to take some of the things we learned from Valeria.
Didn't that movie just happen last year in Bomb? Was
Yeah,
that Valerian?
Yeah.
All right, just throwing that out there.
You know what? I really liked that movie. I know it's not a popular opinion. I thought it was a really good movie, and I was so happy to see a science fiction movie come out that did not have Star Wars or Star Trek in the title.
I agree.
That's a hill I'll die on.
I like it. That are based. I like when they base movies on graphic novels, and the graphic novels are just storyboards waiting to be made into movies a lot of the time. And so I was glad when I heard that they were making the Valerian, and then when I saw it, I was not disappointed. I really enjoyed that movie a lot. I know it got panned.
Me and Levi have good taste. Confirmed.
I need to watch it. Now I'm going to watch it because I'm really bad about forcing myself to sit down and watch movies. I've talked about that on social media a lot. So I want to backtrack 3 minutes. Eric, the game of his, I apologize. I did the exact thing he was just talking about, and now I feel like a chump. The game I was telling you to seek out that would be the next step for your kids would be Quests of Valeria. I think that's the build your adventuring party and then complete quest kind of deal. It feels like Lords of Waterdeep, the card game, a little bit.
It's really it's like not, if you took the Cliff Watch in part of Lords of Waterdeep, and made a whole card game out of that. Yeah, really what it is. And then there's Isaiah will tell you that. Like Isaiah is, he doesn't shy away from saying, I took a game that I liked and I made it more to my liking. You know,
and there is nothing wrong with that either. That is what this industry has been for years. And so when people freak out about that, it bugs me too, right? Because this is always iterative.
Yeah, recently Space Base came out, and there are a lot of comparisons to
Machikoro, but good.
Right, Machikoro and VCK, right? Both come up. Valeria Card Kingdoms comes up in that discussion too. And we were at Origins, and one of the people who was helping us out with our booth, one of our friends, went around and was listening to them talk about it, and they were in the booth saying, "Oh yeah, this game it kills Machikoro, it kills Valeria Card Kingdoms." And it's like, I mean, they're all different. Like there's nothing kill. We didn't kill Machikoro. Machikoro still sells like crazy.
Well,
like
and that's
nobody's worried about losing out.
So this is what I have determined, that there are a lot of fallacies that exist in pop culture that we need to start figuring out a way to unthink. Like, I call this one the Ghostbusters fallacy. So this is the idea that if a thing comes out that is worse than or better than the thing you like, that somehow it invalidates the thing that you like, right? Like if it's worse, then it ruined your childhood in the case of Ghostbusters, or if it's better than it you know what I mean, then the other one.
You're talking like Indiana Jones 4, like ruined the whole Indiana Jones.
Yes.
No, there just was no fourth movie.
Right, exactly.
The trilogy stands.
I hear the same thing about that there was a Highlander 2, but
yeah.
Highlander 2, that wouldn't make any goddamn sense. Oh gosh darn sense.
Oh no, that one you can say. No, you're good. Just can't say the word to rhyme with duck and bunt. You're good.
As a counterpoint to what you were saying, I think the issue I mean, I understand the space constraint of it, but what it did was it created this mentality that this Highlander mentality, to bring that back around.
And still to this day will go down swinging, saying that it isn't for everybody, it is for him. And some people subscribe to the Jones theory, but it isn't a hard and fast rule. And I think that this is something, and I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm being pedantic, but my point is that I think that it got out of control such that people believe that it is somehow a fact or a legit rule.
That was also like that fire was also flamed with a lot of articles and
that game. Then it gets Jones theoried out of my case. I love that this is where we've transitioned. We are so far off the rails. This is funny, but it is being difficult again. What's funny this time is that it's all three of us can see each other and hear each other, right? And there's no lag here. This has got to be on YouTube's end, guys. It has to be, because I can see Eric moving and Levi is nodding, so I know that it's not.
I blame Amazon Prime Day.
It's very possible, actually,
Why
as much
not?
as I hate to say that. It's very possible. So we're going to keep going and assume that the stream will eventually show up. And hopefully we don't get knocked off air like we did last week. Ugh.
Well, we're showing us live, so that's
Yeah,
something.
we're still showing us live. We'll see if people can pop up. So what I was going to say is that I think that the only difference there is that if the two games, the fundamental difference between Catan and Ad Astra is that Catan is a casual game and Ad Astra is not. They are not just the same game, but one is designed better. They are of different weights and complexities such that there is a fundamental difference between them. So that makes perfect sense that you'd keep both of them.
Sure.
Also, sometimes some people are just going to like building villages and roads and moving the robber more than they're going to like exploring space, because there are crazy people that like space games out there. I've met a few of them. I don't understand those people, but they exist. So like, you know, there are lots of reasons. My point is, it's a Jones theory, not a Jones rule, and everybody needs to relax and have a nap and a cookie. The internet just kind of needs to slow their roll every once in a while anyway. So, all right, looks like people are filtering back in, because maybe it was just like an internet hiccup on YouTube's end, or maybe it was Prime Day. I don't know. So, all right, let's get back on track. We're going to go a little long tonight because we started a little late and the internet's going weird. So we're going to let's stall for a few more minutes.
Well, if we are getting back on track, you had originally mentioned from that you read off of the Daily Magic website.
Yes.
That one of the tenets of the mission statement or whatever was you read was that it was Disney. I know this doesn't really play into casual, but that just piqued my interest. Well, can you tell us what do you mean by designer friendly, Levi?
Yeah, so there's four of us and a part-time graphic design games, and so part of what we wanted to do with Daily Magic was to be more give more weight to what designers bring to the process. Now, for that, we probably ask more out of designers than some other publishers do, in that we like the designers to be very involved in the game throughout the development process and even into the marketing of the game.
Magic as well. Yeah, I know they've designed for you.
Yeah. So Matt and Alice them on a regular basis and in that process. And then Alice and Matt both design games also. And so they co-designed Kitten Clash, and then I mean I
saw it at Horizons though. I'm hoping I can't get to Gen Con, so I cannot be a door crasher to try and buy one of the few copies that you're going to have. But I think we might have to order me a copy at some point here, because that sounds like my jam. Anytime I can get a 4X game to the table in a reasonable amount of time, I'm down. So now all you have to do is make it so that way I can laugh at my own failure and make a lot of money while I'm playing it, and all three parts of my brain will be excited. This will be good. Levi, you're the bomb. Today, Monday the 16th, you'll see we tagged both the company and you in there. So
thanks.
Find both in there, no problem. So, Eric, one of the brainchilds behind Punchboard Media, where we all bring some to the table.
I don't know if I'm feeling like much of a brain or much of a child. Doddering old man, maybe how I feel in that little.
Oh, dude, welcome to my world. I just had humans all up in my grill for 48 hours playing games. And one of my friends was like, hey, Bill, at 11 p.m. on the second day of BillCon, can you teach me Anachrony? And I said...
The answer is no.
No, the answer was yes, of course. What's wrong with you? You absolutely do that. So I did.
What's wrong with me?
There you go.
You teach him a Daily Magic game at that point.
I'm just just going to say the fact that you waited and did your own hurts my feelings. You didn't play along with me. Terrible.
There's a reason that my